Hello world, this is David Pons from 1986. In today's video, we are going to tackle one of the most fundamental issues you will encounter when creating a database with Microsoft Access, which is how to automatically create early backups for your data to be safe even when you aren't looking. The standard solution proposed by Microsoft requires you to manually do it, but I'm from the ones that prefers to automatize every repetitive process. Now, let's jump into it. So our first step is going to be to create two folders, one for the script that is necessary to create the automated task, and the second one to hold the backup files of the database. The first one should be located straight under the C folder, so you can reuse it wherever you need it, and call it scripts. The second one should be located at the same place in which your database file is located. And here I'm going to make a parenthesis to suggest you to always split your database into backend and front end. And if you have many users using the front end, split it as well into different files as high as the number of user is. For example, here I have front end for the user 1, front end for user 2, front end for the user 3, and then the backend, which is actually containing all the important data that we're going to be backing up. And under this folder, we create our folder dedicated to the backup files. If you put a hyphen followed by a dot at the beginning of the name of the folder, this is going to position your folder always on the top of the list. This is something that I recommend so your lives will be easier whenever you need to find a backup file. In the second step, we are going to create the code that is going to run automatically the task for us. In order to do so, we are going to open the ISE Windows PowerShell editor, which is the default editor that Windows offers to be able to create and edit Windows PowerShell code. And in here, I'm going to copy paste a piece of code that I have prepared for us. This code is going to be available below the video, so please feel free to copy paste it. But in order for it to work, we need to edit some of the variables inside to customize it to our own particular case. The first one is your database file path. So if we navigate to the folder in which this file is located, I can show you a trick to be able to copy paste its path in an efficient way. If you hit and hold the Shift button followed by the right mouse button, this is going to open a menu that includes a new option called Copy as Path. If you click it and then you navigate back to your code, you can use the hotkey Ctrl-V to paste the path. But pay attention, this is going to add an extra quotation mark that needs to be removed in order for the code to work. The next variable is your backup folder path. So if we repeat the operation, this time navigating to our backup folder path, and we hit again Shift. And while holding it, we click on the right mouse button. We are going to be able to access the option Copy as Path. We can paste it in here again by using the hotkey Ctrl-V. And now, beyond removing the quotation marks that has been added, please pay special attention because there is another slash bar that need to be added at the end of the path for it to work. And the third one is your backup file name. I strongly recommend you to keep the same name that you use for your database file in order for you not to get mixed up. Right click, rename, Ctrl-C, copy, Ctrl-V, paste. And the last one, your backup folder path. This is the same one that before, so I can copy it straight from here. Once we are done editing the code to personalize it to our own particular case, we have to test it to make it sure that it works properly. So I navigate to the folder in which the copy of the backend database is supposed to be created, and then hit the Run Script button to see it in action. And here you go. A copy of the backend database file has been created, including the current date and the current time. In the third and final part of this tutorial, we are going to create an automated task using the default Windows program task scheduler that is going to execute the script we just created every hour indefinitely. But first, we have to save the script. As for the records, this script is not going to create infinite copies of your database, but it's going to erase the copies older than 130 minutes in order to not to saturate your hard disk with copies of your database. I'm going to save it in the same folder we created at the beginning of the tutorial, scripts, under the C folder. And I'm going to call it access copy database. PS1 is the extension that defines PowerShell files. Now that it's safe, I'm going to open Windows Task Scheduler, and within the default folder, I'm going to create a new folder that I'm going to name after me in order to prevent messing around with all the automated tasks that has been previously created by the different software. I'm going to create a new task. I'm going to name it copy access database, and I'm going to change the user that is going to execute it by system. I want it to be triggered on a schedule daily starting as of now, and I want it to repeat every hour for a duration of indefinitely. What I wanted to do is to start a program, and the program I wanted to start is PowerShell.x. You can also browse to find this executable file, but it's a very long path. Now we have to add two important arguments. The first one is called execution policy bypass, which basically bypass the restrictive policy of Windows that might prevent your script to be run by the task scheduler. And the second argument tells PowerShell that you are opening a file. Now you basically just have to add the path to that file after this argument. In order to do so, we're going to use the same trick that we applied before. We navigate to the file, shift, mouse, right button, copy as path, and then paste it in here. We have to read carefully to verify that everything is properly written, and then jump to the next tab. In the conditions, if you are using a laptop, which is my case, you better want to uncheck this box because most often the laptop is not connected to AC power. And in the settings, just to make sure that the allow task to be run on demand is checked, since we want to be able to test it. Now that the task has been created, we are going to proceed to run a test. And in order to do so, I'm going to erase the previous copy of the database that we created when we were testing the script. Then hit the button Run in the task scheduler. Et voila! Our copy of the database has been created. Which is happening basically is that task scheduler is telling every hour to Windows to execute the script that we created, that is making first erasing all the files that are in here that are all order, then 130 minute, and then copying this file and put it into here. So this is as far as we go today. Thanks for watching my tutorial. I hope you liked it. And if you did, please leave a good comment and subscribe to my channel. See you around.